Yo, what's up? It's your boy, Jose Hustle. Every day, mind over matter, mental tussle. Every day. Let me say that again for the ones in the back. Every day. Alright, I think they heard me. What's up with y'all? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving. I'm recording this currently on Thanksgiving evening, and I hope that you guys have eaten your fill of food and shared your good times with your family, as well as roasted the fuck out of the family with that one cousin you get together with, because I know you know what I'm talking about. You got that one cousin. Y'all get together and it's like nobody's safe. Grandma, you not safe. Why your dentures inside of the mashed potatoes with your little stupid old ass? Nah, but this is not what this video is about. This video is about a completely different topic. It was recently brought to my attention that Andrew Tate has a new interview with Mr. Piers Morgan. Now, I have had Piers Morgan on the channel. I mentioned him before in the video. I've never actually talked about Andrew Tate yet, though. So for those of you who don't know Andrew Tate, he is pretty much this guy that decided to take over the internet one day, and he did exactly that. Andrew Tate is an American-born man who made his name through kickboxing, his webcam and casino business ventures, and most recently his social media presence. He has in recent time garnered a lot of attention from the public, sharing his story leading up to what he is, his lifestyle, and his opinions, causing massive controversy all over the internet, including places like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and more. Maybe Kick, maybe WhatsApp, maybe your mom's house. Now, someone once said that all press is good press, and in Tate's case, it definitely was for a time. He amassed tens and even hundreds upon thousands of fans on all his media platforms, expanding his reach beyond what it already was to even greater lengths. And as a result, he made huge sums of money, and success was quite nice to this man. Success was quite nice to this man. Now, with the ups, there are always downs, and for Andrew Tate, that came in the form of accusations related to sexual assault and human trafficking, among other things. Very heavy crimes, not just in America, but also in Romania, where Tate currently resides. He was under the eye of the Romanian government for a while before that, and on the 29th of December, following a video he posted during a feud with climate activist Greta Thunberg, a Romanian police force raided his house, and as a result, him as well as his younger brother Tristan Tate were detained and arrested in Romania's capital of Bucharest, where they remained detained for up to 3 months. Eventually, after an extensive time in jail, the Tate bros were released, but placed on house arrest up until August of this past summer. Now, while he is essentially a free man, Tate does not get to experience the free world just yet, as he is still bound to the country of Romania while his case remains ongoing. But our beloved Piers Morgan and friends took the opportunity to be among the first of the internet world to interview Tate, flying out to Romania just to speak with the man. And now we will be reviewing some of the interview and seeing what the Tate man has been thinking of for the past few months while locked up in Romania. So without further ado, I'm going to shut the fuck up for the time being.
Andrew, it's been nearly a year since we last sat down together. Very different time. It was in my London studio, and 8 days after that, you got arrested. What's the year been like for you?
It's certainly been an interesting one. I've been constrained this entire year. I spent 93 days in a Romanian dungeon, 5 months locked in my house, and now I'm restrained within the country of Romania. So it's certainly been a turbulent time.
The moment you got arrested, it was all pretty dramatic. The video came out, the world saw it, a lot of people smashing into your home. Did you have any inkling, warning that something like this may happen?
I knew it. I kept saying before I was arrested on every single podcast I did, I said, you get 3 lives in the world. The first life, they're going to cancel you. They're going to slander you. They're going to delete your access to social media so you can't defend yourself. The second life, they're going to try and put you in jail for no reason. And if you continue to speak against the power, they're going to assassinate you. I knew I was on my second life. I kept saying it. I knew it was coming. I didn't know the bullshit reason they'd use, but I found out once I was in a cell.
When you were arrested, you don't speak any Romanian at all.
Zero.
And they didn't speak English to you.
Correct.
So,
you know, I find it really weird how Andrew doesn't know Romanian or how to speak their language. I would think that if you were to move to another country, you should definitely learn the language that is spoken in that country, because like you will definitely need it for communication's sake. Like Andrew had no idea what was going on, and he might have known had a better idea, had a better chance of defending himself had he known the language to understand what was going on. Honestly, the court and the law system was going to do what they were going to do regardless of whether or not he knew the language, but I think it would definitely have helped.
You were taken to a cell. You had no idea what they were alleging you'd done.
I was arrested on the 27th of December, so because of Christmas and New Year's and other problems, they couldn't even translate my paperwork for 2 weeks. So for the first 2 weeks I was in a prison cell, I had no idea why. I was given papers in Romanian. I could read human trafficking, I understood, but I was like, human trafficking who, when, what? None of this makes sense. I waited 2 entire weeks inside of my cell before I was given an English translation, and then I realized exactly how ridiculous the whole case was. Just to clarify, I am accused of helping my friends get big on TikTok. That is what I'm accused of. I told some girls I know how to post on TikTok to become viral when I was at the time the most viral person on the planet. And they are saying I'm a human trafficker for that reason. It is insane.
Well, we'll come to what you've been accused of. It's more serious than the way you've categorized it, but we'll come to that. There is a lot of speculation that the reason the Romanian authorities knew that you were back, because you were en route, I believe, to Dubai for a New Year's Eve party, is that you were interacting with Greta Thunberg on social media, and you had a pizza in front of you which came from a well-known Romanian pizza store. Is there any truth to that?
I don't think so. I think that they know where I was. A lot of people knew where I was, and they had instructions from higher up to teach me a lesson. I was on my second life, and that's exactly what I'm going through right now.
There's an irony to your situation, because you always said the reason you came to Romania was precisely because you thought you could avoid being in this situation.
Well, I loved Romania, and it's a strong Christian nation with strong traditional values. I want a life where I'm left alone by government. I don't believe in big government. I'm trying to avoid that. It felt like Romania was a place which was very safe societally, and the government was not too interested or involved in people's lives. But things change. Also, your freedom and your ability to speak the truth is heavily correlated to your insignificance. When you become large and people start listening to what you say, you soon realize you no longer have freedom of speech. And it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. If they decide you must be assassinated, you will be assassinated.
I think it's an interesting point that he made, correlating freedom of speech to your significance in society. A lot of the times, most people can say whatever, and it doesn't really matter because you don't matter in the grand scheme of things as an everyday person. You're not really going to be moving a lot of mountains per se with what you say. But when it comes to people of influence, it's a lot heavier of a cost to speaking your mind because of the gifted burden that is influence. People want to listen to you, and there are people who will embrace you, your words, your ideas, and due to that, they will have ideas of their own. They will want to do things themselves through what you told them, indirectly or directly. But there are also people who are scared and fear things that they can't control. Words someone says can have a huge repercussion for somebody else. An individual or a group or an idea, whatever. It's all about the dynamics of power, once you're influential.
You in jail, what was that like?
Romanian jail is not English jail.
Describe it. What was the cell like?
I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to insult the Romanian justice system, which I'm still beholden to. However, it's exactly as bad as people would expect it to be. Luckily, it was in the winter, so the cockroaches were not too bad. It was also during Ramadan, so I didn't have to eat so much, which was helpful because of the situation. I think the most stressful thing about it is I had no idea how long I was going to be in there for. I was dragged from my house. I was given papers in Romanian. I didn't know why I was there. I found out why I was there, and it was garbage. I couldn't seem to get out. I could have been held for years. It's very stressful. And the best thing you can do is turn to God and train as hard as possible. I did thousands of push-ups a day every single day.
Were you in solitary in this period, 3 months?
No, I wasn't in solitary the entire time. Sometimes I was by myself. Sometimes I was with other guys, and sometimes I was with my brother. So,
when you were on your own, were they keeping you in there for 24 hours a day? Were you allowed out?
No, I wasn't allowed out. There was no yard time. It was 24 hours a day, locked in a single room, probably 3 or 4 steps large, and you do nothing but stare at the wall. And
How many days did you do that for, on your own?
11, 12.
I mean, that's a pretty grim scenario for anyone.
Life's grim.
For you, always being Mr. Confident, you said, interestingly, that you wouldn't categorize what you were feeling as depression because you don't believe in the concept of depression. You and I have argued about that before. But it sounds to me, from what I've seen you say when you've talked about this, that was pretty close to depression, what you were feeling.
Life's grim. And if you want to be a superhero, you have to understand in every single superhero movie, he is losing for 80% of the movie. He's going to suffer for the majority of the movie before he wins at the end. I've always wanted an exceptional life, Piers, and I'm not a coward. And I knew that by telling the truth about certain issues, I was going to pay the price for it.
It sounds so crazy to not believe in something so relatable like depression, but then believe something fantastical like you being a hero in a movie. But I could pull some sort of sense out of that. To believe in something is to give it power. I believe that is true. I think Tate operates on that same level as well. I think he knows depression exists, but chooses not to give it power in his life. He chooses not to believe in it. To him, to believe in something like depression is like giving power to something that can potentially destroy you. Choosing not to believe in something so crippling might be his way of strengthening himself and preserving his energy for things that are worth believing in and thinking about. I think Tate honestly is just incredibly strict, even in his own head, with what he is thinking. Like, he only allows himself to think certain things. And it sounds so extreme with no context, like a lot of what he says, because he obviously will go through the same shit that we all do. He's human at the end of the day. There's simply no way to avoid it. But his approach is what is so shockingly different. He doesn't let it affect him as far as we know, and that's a part of what makes him so polarizing to a lot of people. Just the way he chooses to view things as if they are nothing to him unless he wants them to be. It's a powerful trait to have and can be a good reason why so many young kids flock to him today, because they want to have that kind of power over their own lives. And I definitely believe that they can. Anybody can. It's just a matter of mindset, like what I think Tate believes. I guess that's why he can also relate to himself in his point of view as being a hero, because a hero does what most don't. They do the seemingly impossible. And we live in a society today where there are many mental health issues running rampant, making life itself seem almost impossible to live. Only thing about this mindset is that it can be very alienating as well, because those things he chooses not to believe in can also be things that are very relatable. Everyone has felt some sort of sadness, like depression on a level, and to say that it doesn't exist sounds almost like an insult to someone who has believed to have suffered from depression and from sadness. But that's a different conversation. And speaking of conversations, I should definitely break down that conversation on his disbelief in depression. It would be pretty interesting because I actually haven't heard that conversation, and I definitely want to see what he has to say on that.
But when you're on your own in that cell, what were you thinking? It's a long time to self-reflect, right?
It certainly is. And I think my number one concern when I was in jail, despite the fact that my situation was dire, were my concerns as a man and all the people I have to take care of, and my children and my family and the people I pay for and all the people who work for me. And truthfully, I wasn't worried about myself, I was worried about everybody else. And I think that's the true masculine frame.
Did you get emotional? Did you shed tears in your cell?
I'm an emotional man. I think men are hyper emotional. We just have to control it. I was extremely busy inside of my jail cell. I had lots of push-ups to do. I was very concerned about the people on the outside. I was trying my best to get out. It's difficult for me to answer the question because it was an interesting frame of mind. I knew that God was watching and I had to perform. It's very difficult for me to go through life saying I'm the top G, I'm this, I'm that, and speak about mental resilience and mental toughness, and then the second I'm thrown inside of a solitary confinement cell, cower out. I'm not that person. There's some other people who talk about mental toughness and want to give advice, and when bad things happen to them, they end up addicted to prescription drugs. I'm not a coward and I'm not a liar.
No, but it would be perfectly natural to be emotional in that scenario, and there's no shame in admitting that.
I was emotional. I missed people. I missed them, and I knew they missed me. So I felt a strong sense of missing.
But you cried.
There were tears that ran down my face, but I did not cry.
I mean, that's crying.
I would disagree.
Because you're worried about admitting that. You think you sound
Absolutely
weak.
not. That's a perfectly fine scenario to cry in, but I think the act of crying is an act of desperation. To sit and to cry is an act in and of itself. To do push-ups, thinking of your children with tears running down your face, but you're concerned with finishing as many push-ups as possible within that day, I do not consider that crying. I consider that tears running down my face.
Now, this is really interesting. This is a really interesting interaction that these guys just had. I really like it. So first off, I think that Andrew hit the nail on the head about what it means to have a masculine frame, even in a situation as bad as his. Yes, you are suffering. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there's no telling what tomorrow's gonna bring or when it's gonna end. But regardless of all of that, your family still needs you. Your responsibilities still need you. You still need you. Shit still needs to get done. goals still need to be met, and until you are dead, you still have to move. Regardless of your suffering, as a man, the family is gonna come first. Responsibility is gonna come first. Always. If a gang of thieves break into your house and you got your family, your wife and kids sleeping inside, it's gonna be you, the man, who's going to lay his life down on the line for the sake of the family and potentially die doing so. When war breaks, it's gonna be you, the man of a nation, who is gonna be called to bear arms and die fighting. When your child needs help, or when your wife needs help, it's gonna be your responsibility as a man to take care of that, because your family is your responsibility. This is something that I can resonate with as someone with morals and a belief in those standards that Tate speaks of. Now, as men, I believe we can be extremely emotional or hyper emotional, like Tate said, in a sense, because as men, our emotions are so powerful to us that we can and will physically manifest them to destroy not only us but everything around us through our actions, if we let them. But there is, as in all things, a balance to be found. So Tate speaking on control of emotions is something I can agree with, because as not just men but responsible people, we need to be able to control ourselves as much as possible in every single way we possibly can for the sake of a stable and healthy life, because the capability of destruction is just as infinite as the capability of creation, and it can be just one bad day away for a man. I will tell you to think of Rome. It wasn't built in a day, but it sure did burn quick. Every day can be a Rome for a man who isn't emotionally controlled. And I really give props to Tate for holding himself accountable to his words, saying that if he was to have been crying and bitching and desperately pleading to be let out of jail, he would look like a dumbass. Like, he would look like a fool, like a mockery of what he's been saying this whole time about being a man and being a top G and being all this shit that he's always, talking about. But he really is holding himself to that word. Now, as for the tears that he shed, this is probably like the most controversial part. He stated that tears rolled down his face, but he was not simply crying. What I got from his statement was that he is not someone who will simply sit down and feel bad and wallow in his own self-pity and just not do nothing about it. I think his definition of crying is when you give up. Like he said, he sees crying as an act of desperation. Now, honestly, I'm not going to agree with him there, simply because you don't just cry when you're desperate or during bad times. Tears are generally produced whenever you have an overly charged sensation of any kind. Like, you could cry tears of happiness, pain, sadness, frustration, nostalgia, peace, excitement. Anything emotional that is presented in a moment strongly enough will elicit the reaction that is crying. So crying isn't always this negative thing. But regardless of the definition or however you view crying, I believe ultimately the main point was to say that you don't just sit there and cry and do nothing about your situation. You get your ass up and you find a way, because you are a man who has responsibilities, a man with a family, a man with a mission, and you gotta do something. There's no other choice, and nobody's coming to help you. Anyone with a goal to achieve, you can cry, but don't stop. Don't give up. Don't fold. Don't stop running. Don't stop trying. Don't stop. Because when you stop to pity yourself in your tears is when you truly lose. When you stop, you allow the devil to catch up and get a hold of you, using your feelings against you to destroy you in any progress you make. But you can't do that, because you got shit that you gotta get done. And like Andrew said, God is watching. You must perform. You must help yourself, and he will then help you as well. Boys and girls, this is part 1. I'm gonna watch some more in the future installments, but for now, my men, stay blessed and strong. If you are weak, it is okay, because you are alive, so you can still be strong starting right now. My woman, stay blessed and stay safe. Help your men to greatness, and they will help you. In unity, there is always strength. I love y'all. Remember to reach for the stars and aim for the moon, because together, no matter where we land, we will be out of this world.